live because I decided I was gonna go live 5 minutes ago. Let me just fix the lighting in here. I don't really like it in here. But yeah, we're back to another evening filming. So I just wanted to pop on here because it's mid kind of January now. And this is where people start to feel a little bit like, you know, I was excited about 2024 and now I'm not. So what are you guys up to? That is why the start of this video, actually, sorry, the title of this video is called, How is your 2024 going? Because how is it going? I want to know, guys. How is it going? Be super, super honest down below. Whoa, as much as you want to share, of course. I still feel like this lighting isn't really it. I don't know what's going on with it, but let's just roll with it. Actually, I think I know what's going on. Sorry. Ooh, look at this. Like a disco. That's quite nice. But let me know down below where you are chiming in from around the world. What you've got planned for the rest of the month. How is your month going so far? Like, I personally feel like January is actually going, I don't know, I go through phases. Like, sometimes I feel like it's going really quick, and then other times I'm kind of like, is it still only the 17th? But we are more than halfway through now, guys. So we officially have 2 weeks left of January, and then we move on to a shorter month of February. And I know this always feels like a little bit of a like hump to go over. And it can feel a little bit, you know, it can feel a little bit overwhelming, especially when there's so much. It can feel overwhelming, especially when you hear so much on the internet streets and so much on social media about like, oh, I'm doing this and I'm doing all these elaborate plans and I'm going here and I'm going there and I'm doing this with this person and I'm set to make $10 million and blah, blah, blah. And you know, you're kind of like, oh, I was just taking it easy. So I'm here to basically say that if that is the case, which I totally 150% know how that feels, and know that there are people out there thinking and feeling that right about now, because that used to be me, is that you're doing just fine and you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Hey Liam, where are you chiming in from? Let me know. Let me know if you've got snow where you are. I know in the UK we got a shit ton of snow yesterday, but in typical British style, it's already gone. So it's just left ice. Like, we have the most inconsistent weather ever. Like, one day it'll be fully snowing, and then the next day it will be ice. And then like we're set to have like a really warm day on Sunday. Like, Sunday is set to be like the warmest day ever, like 15 degrees Celsius. Sorry, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. I know that in America, you guys work in Fahrenheit. I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. I'll take a wild guess. I don't know, maybe 50? Oh, I don't know. Don't shoot me if it's wrong. But so if you had seen one of my, I had a short video. It actually wasn't even planned to go up. The reason I did it is because there was that really funny bot. I'm going to start calling trolls bots now, because half of their comments, YouTube actually delete them because YouTube assumes it's a bot. So if you think I'm deleting them, I don't want you guys to think that I'm actually not doing that. It's because if they comment too much too soon, YouTube will just be like, right, this is a bot, get rid. Which is fine by me, because it does my dirty work for me. That's fine. Like, I don't have to then go through and delete and get rid of people, because I don't like doing that shit. I don't have time for that shit. I'm here to show you guys that if you want to live a child-free lifestyle on your terms, it is absolutely, totally fine and 150% doable. So that is the main reason for this channel. So those of you who are new around here, you've literally just subbed or whatever, first of all, thank you so, so much. I am super grateful to have you here. Second of all, this channel is mainly based on all things, as you've probably realized, all things child-free living. It's child-free lifestyle. It's how to live a lifestyle on your terms, how to take away your guilt, how to deal with, you know, difficult friends and family members, how to get out of certain situations and uncomfortable situations. I touch up on all of these, but ultimately it is obviously going through, you know, a lot of entertainment as well. So a lot of funny memes and stuff that I find on Facebook, but also a lot of articles that I find. So I've got a video that I'm will be filming this week, and it's on a really interesting article that I found that I initially rolled my eyes at it, but now I'm actually really glad that I'm doing a video on it, because writing out the script and getting all my, like, not a script word for word, like I'm not an actor or anything, but writing out what I'm gonna say and like, you know, what I want to touch up on, and I'm like, this is gonna hit home because this is where I get on my soapbox and I go for it because I absolutely love that kind of stuff. I feel less and less guilty. I am so happy for you. Honestly, I'm so glad. I want you guys to feel less and less guilty because 150% you can live a lifestyle on your terms and not feel guilty. And this is for both male and female, but mainly, obviously, females are always made to feel guilty, but males can feel this as well. So I want you guys to know that as long as you're not hurting yourself or anyone around you, and you're not, because some people will try and guilt trip you, so be careful. Some people will try and guilt trip you into feeling guilty, into like hurting them, or you're taking something away from them. You're not taking anything away from anybody. You are just living your life as you see fit for you. You're getting careers that you want, you're getting jobs you want, you're running businesses you want, you know, you're going places that you want and countries that you want to, you're making friends with people who you vibe with. You know, you're hanging around and making a circle for yourself that you vibe with and that makes you feel good ultimately. So Liam's from the Republic of Ireland. Love your channel, and I'm child free. I'm so glad you love this channel. I'm really glad to have you here, and thank you for sharing. I love Ireland. Like, I was just in Dublin like a couple of months ago. I went with a friend of mine. So we just went for a day trip. I've been before, but years ago. So I went for a day trip with a friend of mine, and we just spent all day there, like, you know, doing all the touristy stuff. She obviously planned all of that because I don't like planning all of that stuff. She planned it all. We went to the Guinness factory, we went to the pubs, we found the best foods, honestly, and it is totally different to how I remembered it. So that was really nice, and it's so good visiting places after a couple of years. You know, if you go somewhere and then you go after a couple of years, you're like, oh my God, this is a different place. Like, I don't remember seeing this, or I don't remember experiencing that. And I did it recently because, as you know, for New Year's Eve, I spent it in Budapest, which is Hungary. And honestly, I love this city. It's one of my favorite European cities. If you have not been, I highly recommend it. Not only is it a beautiful country, but the people are unbelievably amazing. Like, they are so kind, they're so generous. They have the best food, the cheapest alcohol if you do drink, very cheap alcohol. And honestly, I couldn't sing the praises enough. So as you know, I went to Budapest, but I went years ago with my husband, who was then my boyfriend. And we went about 7 years ago, and I loved it then, but we went in the middle of the summer, so it was roasting hot. But this time we went in the winter, so I was like, oh my God, it's going to look totally different. I'm going to see different things. It wasn't actually that cold. We had completely dry weather with the sun out, and it was absolutely delicious. Like, I could go back there tomorrow. Like, the whole place was just alive with, I just love the vibe. Like, I pick up on energy very easily. I'm a very energetic being. So, well, we're all energetic beings, obviously, but I touch up on energy a lot, like read energy of a place, like with the locals and everything like that. And that place just hits home. Any Hungarians here, please let me know. I absolutely love you guys. So I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this. It's Beanie B. I'm not sure. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'm married and we both don't need children. How lucky am I? Well, we have 2 dogs and that's enough. Oh my God, you're 150% lucky. Especially if you've got those little doggos as well. Like, they are... I love dogs. I don't have my own dogs. I don't think I'd be a good dog parent, but I do love dogs. I'm obviously, as you know, a cat parent. But yeah, we are so lucky. Honestly, guys, we are so lucky to be able to create our reality and create a lifestyle for ourselves. And that's again, what this channel is all about. Like, I absolutely love showing people, like, look, this is okay. You might have been told before, like, oh, you can't do that, you can't do this, or it's wrong to do that, or, you know, it's a phase and you're going to grow out of it, which is what I was always told. Like, what is this shit about? Like, oh, it's a phase. You know, it's not a phase. And I was talking about this in my Facebook group. I have a Facebook group for child-free entrepreneurs. So any entrepreneurs or business owners, if you are on this feed or watching this channel, or you're new here or old here, or however long you've been around here, I do actually, in fact, have a child-free entrepreneur group. And we were just discussing this the other day. Like, people always think that as business owners, we have it easy, or, you know, or child-free people in general, like, we have it easy, we have all the time in the world, we don't have responsibility, you know, we don't feel sad, we don't feel tired, we don't feel down, which obviously is a load of BS. You and I both know that. I'm sure you guys feel tired after work, or on a weekend, or, you know, you have your own responsibilities with your animals, of course. You know, like you have to raise animals, you have to water plants. These are responsibilities. You have to pay your bills. You know, you have to pay your car insurance if you drive. You know, all of these things are responsibilities as an adult, like not whether you have kids or not. It's just up to you which ones you want to take on. I'm happy to take on the responsibility of a mortgage because I love my home and I worked really hard for it. But I'm not taking on the responsibility of a child. Like, I'm just not doing it. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine traveling with kids either. As you just mentioned there, I can't imagine traveling with kids. No, neither. Like, traveling, it can be stressful enough. Like, I get nervous sometimes just going to the airport, and then, you know, if you do have to check a bag in, it's like, oh my God, the stress of like, what if it gets lost and all of this. And when I went to Budapest, I had to check a bag in because we had outfits for our ball. Like, we went to a gala dinner and I was so worried. I never check bags in because I get so anxious. So I just travel light all the time. So we had to check a bag in and we were so nervous. Like, what if our outfits don't arrive? All of this. And then my husband said to me, like, imagine doing all of this, like getting to the airport, having to park, having to, you know, check a bag in, go through security. Like, oh my God, it's not just traveling. Like, you're not just getting on a plane and going to another country. It sounds really fun, and it is, but it can be stressful and it's tiring. It's really tiring. Like, we landed really late back at home and I was like, oh my God, like, imagine I'm having to go home, put the kids to bed, like calm them down. Like, because obviously traveling can be really anxiety inducing for a lot of people. And it takes them a long time to calm down. It took me ages to like de-stress from it, you know. And then all we kept thinking is like, imagine I had a kid in tow now. Like, I had extra baggage, I had their pram, I had their like, you know, them screaming. I couldn't do it. Absolutely couldn't do it. So here in Turkey, when I tell people I'm child-free by choice, everyone is shocked. And this makes me even louder about our options. 100%, you know what? You're going to hear it all the time. In some countries, you're going to hear it more than usual. So obviously, wherever you're tuning in from, you're going to have a very different experience to other people. Like, even a lot of my subs are like American or Canadian or British, for example. Sorry, my watch is bleeping. But they, you know, even we get that judgment. And you'd think we, in our society now, in those countries, people would be less judgmental, but it's not always the case. So I can imagine that. Actually, I've been to Turkey many times, of course. As you know, my parents are Turkish Cypriot. Absolutely love Turkey. Let me know where you're from. It says Cute Cats of Istanbul, so I don't want to guess, but are you from Istanbul? Absolutely love it. Went there 2 years ago. Absolutely gorgeous city. So busy. Don't want to drive there at all. I don't even drive in England. So I can't wait to go back there because, again, loved the food, loved the people. This is turning into like a travel channel. I'm gonna start making this travel channel, like where to go next. Any other inspiration? I knew at 14 I didn't want kids. Oh my God, Liam said, like, I knew at 12, like 100%. So always, I was just in my child-free entrepreneurs group doing a live video with another child-free entrepreneur. She is a life coach and business owner, and she was talking about discernment and leaning into your intuition and knowing like what it is about yourself, you know, just learning about yourself and learning to listen to that inner voice. So obviously, Liam, like you said, that you knew at 14 that that's not for you, that's not your life. So whatever your inner tuition, that's what intuition is, like your inner tuition is telling you, like, you know what, I'm not vibing with this, like, it's not me, I'm not sure, or, you know, or I know that this is not for me. And that is what my intuition was like. My instinct was so high. I was always like, no friggin' way that's happening. Like, there's absolutely no chance in hell that's happening. And I know it's different for many people because that choice can be, you know, you can have different levels of that uncertainty. Some people are just a flat out no. And some people are like 80, 90% no. And they're kind of like, oh, do you know what? I'll see how life goes. And that's fine. If you want to have that little open door, fine. But whatever you do in the end, whatever decision you make, it has to be from you. It has to come from you. It can't be someone else pushing you. It can't be someone else encouraging you. Well, I say encouraging, it's usually more like coercion, which I don't agree with at all. But I don't agree with coercion on either side of the coin. I don't agree with, like, I wouldn't convince someone to not have kids. Like, I would never turn up to someone and be like, oh my God, why did you do that? You know, because that's what somebody else wants. So if I don't want someone doing it to me, I'm not going to do it to somebody else. And I have a lot of fence sitters in my life at the moment, like friends and family, who are kind of like, they're child free now, but there's a little gap there. There's a little like 10% like, I don't know, we'll see. And I'm like, okay, cool. Just make sure it's your choice and you're not doing it to please people around you. You're not doing it to like be with the in crowd or because of FOMO or because, you know, you want your mum to like you or your dad, or you want to be besties, or you want to find new friends, or you want someone to keep you company. There are so many stories I've heard lately of people having kids because they were lonely. And that is a little bit of a clue of next week's video. Not this week. This week's one is already going up. It was already pre-filmed. But next week's video, like next Sunday's, is going to be the one where, honestly, a little clue is that I think this woman wanted kids because she was lonely. And, you know, kids aren't your besties. It's no guarantee they're going to hang around with you or they're going to keep you company. Or, you know, you hear all one too many stories of people having kids because they wanted that company and they still feel lonely or they want to get away from them. So it's kind of like there's so many contradictions like afterwards when you get into that situation of what it actually means for you, you know. Born and raised in Istanbul, Dutch mother, Turkish father, and no driver's license. Oh my God, me too. I've got no driver's license, but I'm scared to drive in most countries, let alone like when I went to Istanbul, I was like, whoa, you guys just make up your own rules. This is cool. Like, do you also speak both languages? That's so amazing. Like, I'm still brushing up on my Turkish because I'm not fluent, but I can't wait to be fluent. I'm planning to spend a lot of time there so I can get fluent, and I want the accent and everything because my English accent's like too strong for it. So if I speak Turkish, they know that I'm British, if that makes sense. So yeah, guys, going back to, you know, discernment, following your own intuition, doing what is right for you and your life. And even if you're unsure, discussing it with someone you really, really trust. You know, if you have someone in your life that you feel, okay, this person's going to be neutral, they're not going to try and push me either way, like to say yes or no, you know, anything like this, it's so important to have someone like that. It could be a friend, it could be a relative, if not, it could even be a professional, like if you want to go down that route. But going down that route as well is really good because that person's neutral. So they're not going to either or. If you're worried about someone pushing you into it or pushing you down a route that you don't want to live or forcing a lifestyle down on you that you don't want or that you know you're not going to like or you're not sure you're going to like, it's really good to look at someone who's neutral in that sense because they're not going to tell you either or. They're just going to give you facts and they're going to just look at it from a black and white perspective. Whereas sometimes if you were to speak to a relative or a friend, they might naturally want to protect you or do what's best for you because they don't want to see you get hurt or they don't want to see you regret or they don't want to see you upset. And that's fair enough. They're just doing it from a good place. You know, it's coming from a good place, if that makes sense. So someone said to me once, life is like a big buffet. You can choose what you like, but you can't eat everything. Oh my God, I love that saying. I actually haven't heard that. And I'm hot on all the sayings, is as in like, I like hearing it from different perspectives and different analogies of things. And I've not heard the buffet analogy at all, like ever. And that is so true, but you can't eat everything. But have you also noticed, off something I heard a stand-up comedian say about buffets, have you noticed that if you do eat everything, how do you feel? Like sometimes if we've all been there where we've eaten a lot of food and you're stuffed. Like we probably feel like this because Christmas was just literally 4 weeks ago, where you eat so much food. Like if you go to a buffet and you eat everything and you're like, right, I'm gonna have everything here, and you leave, and you know those all you can eat buffets that you go to where you pay like an X amount, but you can eat as much, like you can get as many plates as you want. And some people go mad. Some people get like 500 plates. Do you ever feel good? So it's actually a really good saying because, you know, you can choose what you like, but you can't eat everything. And if you do, in terms of life, if we go back to the analogy of life, if you go to eat everything or go to take on everything and you want to do everything, like you want the car, the career, the money, the house, the picket fence, whatever, which is what society shows you is like, oh yeah, you can have it all, but then you're exhausted. So it's kind of like, this is where the disconnect is, and this is where society is always telling, especially women, oh, you can have it all, you can have it all, you can have the family, you can have the beach body, you can be pretty, you can have a pretty car, you can have nice nails, and you can have a good family, and you can have kids who behave. Because, you know, if you have kids, it doesn't mean they're going to behave, or they're going to be the best behaved people ever, or they're going to grow up and like you. We all know this. You and I both know this. There's no guarantee that they're going to come out the way you want. I certainly did not come out the way my parents wanted me to, or expected me to, should we say. Obviously, they're fine with me now, but, you know, the idea of what I was going to be in their heads and what I am is different. Let's just put it like that. But yeah, thanks for sharing that. I really enjoyed that analogy. You get so lonely as a child. You get so lonely as a child-free person. I mean, I do. So many traditional pick-me's around. I wish I had a supportive and progressive community of strong and kind women around. So this is another reason. By the way, Yas, thank you so much. Is it Yassi? Sorry, my light's a bit bright now. Thank you so much for sharing that, first of all, because I think loneliness can definitely come up at different stages of our lives, and as child-free people, it can we can be more vulnerable to that, definitely. And it doesn't always help, because sometimes people just turn around and say, well, you're the one who's child free, you chose not to have kids, therefore you chose to be lonely, which of course is not the case, because you might not want something in life, but it doesn't mean, you know, just because someone doesn't want kids, it doesn't mean they deserve to be lonely or to not have a supportive like circle of friends and family. And that can be a bit of that can be challenging, especially trying to describe it to people who, you know, have kids just without kind of thinking about it. They're just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna have kids because that's what you do. And they don't realize, you know, where that isolation can come from. And I've heard this with friends as well. They feel isolated, and it's not as easy as like, oh, just go out and make friends, or, you know, we'll just have a kid then. Because again, like you said, it's not like as easy of an answer as that. So I do hope that this space that's created here is your community. I really hope that for you. I hope it's doing something. I hope you can see that there are communities out there where people are coming together and people are like, no, it's okay, we share the same values. I feel loneliness as well, but you know what? I'm not gonna have kids either. I'm not gonna have kids just to kind of fix that, you know. I hope that's kind of helped, because I know I felt fleeting moments of loneliness, and it's not nice. However, it's all about, again, finding, okay, are there hobbies that I can do where I might meet people, or are there hobbies that will make me happy, or stuff like this. And a lot of people think loneliness is those people who always want to spend time alone, and it's not necessarily that. Like, alone and lonely are, of course, very, very different. Some people like being alone, but not lonely. So again, it's about, I like being alone personally. I like being left alone, but loneliness can strike at any moment. Like, it can genuinely strike in your 20s, in your teens, in your 30s. There's kind of no, you know, there's no time and date to it, because a lot of people always say to us as child-free people, oh, when you get older, you'll be lonely. And it's like, it's not just when you're older. It can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter how old you are. So I hope, Yassi, that you have a community here. Just an FYI, you always have a community here of strong and kind women and men. There are men in this community as well. And we've definitely got you. So if you ever feel like that, you can come here. So in my social circle, I'm the only child-free woman at age 36. So yeah, again, you can have social circles which are people who aren't child-free. If that works for you, like if you don't mind hanging around with your friends who have kids, that's absolutely fine. I have heard it on the other side as well, where people can't stand being around their friends with kids, or they kind of meet them when their kids are with a babysitter or something like that. But if that works for you, go for it. I'm 36 this year. I'm turning 36 in a couple of months. So getting into those late 30s. So just actually going off the back of what Yassi mentioned, I never thought my 30s would be like this. Like, absolutely never. Like, I had an idea that, oh, when I'm this age, I'm gonna have this house and I'm gonna have this partner and I'm gonna have this car. Well, not my car, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. And I always thought I would be in a different place career wise all the time. I used to think like, yeah, I'll be like in this big career in London because that's where I'm from. I don't live there anymore, but that's where I'm from. I was like, I'm gonna be a big city person. And that's what I did in my 20s because I thought that was like, oh, I need to work towards that. But actually, life has a different direction for us sometimes. And it's not always the way we think it's going to turn out. Like, I didn't think I would be where I am now at all. Like, certain jobs and stuff that I've had and certain career changes, I've had a lot of like swerves in my life path, and they were not what I was expecting at all. So sometimes when things pan out a certain way, it's not that you're failing or like not going in the right direction or anything like that. It's just that's the way that's your life path, you know, as long as you stick to your values of what you do and don't want. So for example, for us, we know we don't want kids. Like for me personally, I knew I always wanted a house. That was just something I wanted to aim for. Whereas career wise, I wanted to try different careers. I wanted to, you know, enjoy traveling a little bit. I did know I wanted those things. So I stuck with those values and I just worked my way around that, if that makes sense. So again, going off the loneliness aspect, it can hit you at any age. And sometimes you'll get to certain ages and be like, oh my God, like I remember 10 years ago thinking that at this age I'd be like there, or, you know, I'd be earning X amount, or I didn't ever think I'd be doing YouTube. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like if you told me this 5-6 years ago, I would have been like, talking about what? Because I was told don't talk about being child free because it's not popular. There you go. So I was always told don't say that because no one's ever going to like you, or don't say that, people are going to think you're weird, or keep quiet about that because you're going to upset people at work or people here, or I don't know, Jane down the road. And it's like, I'm sorry, my other people's ideas and opinions of me are not my business. And I will talk about this because this space needs to be created. Spaces like this are needed out there so people can come together and not feel so lonely and not feel like an outcast and not feel like, you know, there's something wrong with them, which is the main things that I always hear from people when they're messaging me. They're always saying like, I feel like there's something wrong with me, or I feel like, you know, I'm always fighting with family or friends or disagreeing or stuff like this. And you know, people are going to give you a harder time. That's just because they don't get it. They don't get the concept of thinking like, oh, this is actually a choice. So ultimately, other people don't always think that having kids is a choice. They think it's the done thing and, oh, I just need to do it because everyone else is doing it. I don't want to be left out. Remember, people want to feel part of a community. They want to feel wanted. They want to feel accepted. All humans, myself included, you included, we all want to feel like we're part of something. And a lot of people go down that road because it is popular. And there are more people doing that than what we're doing. You know, there are more people having kids than not having kids, which is why I don't get people who comment on my videos and they say like, oh, you know, the population is declining and, you know, oh, the humanity is going to die out. Like, it's not going to die out. Like, there's so many people, there's more people doing it than not doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're not going to die out anytime soon. Like, ever. I just don't believe that's going to happen. I totally agree with Yassi. We have to build a strong and fun community, be each other's friends and family, 100%. Because not everybody has that immediate friend and family. Like, not everybody is talking to their family. You know, a couple of months ago, I did 2 videos on family estrangement, how to navigate around family estrangement, especially because the holiday seasons have just ended. You know, this isn't a nice time for everybody because not everybody has that immediate someone to go to. And I see that a lot in a lot of Facebook groups. I see it from messages I get, from emails I get. You know, not everybody has that someone to rely on, or, oh, I can just text this person and, oh, I can just phone them and they'll be here, or, you know, I can check in on them. And a lot of people think we don't need people checking in on us. So definitely, if you are the strong person out of your field, like within your circle, within your friend or family circle, you'll get a lot of people who think that you're always okay, or that there's nothing wrong with you, that you don't get angry, that you don't get upset. And that is, you know, it's important to talk about it a lot so that they understand, look, you know what? I do sometimes get upset. I do sometimes get angry. I'm not always feeling on top of the world. I'm not always feeling on top of the world. That's not possible. Like, we're humans, you know? Just catching up. So, and if you're joining, say hi. Let me know where you're from. Let me know where you're joining from. So they can't just grasp the fact that a woman can have other preferences and life goals and needs. Yeah, for sure. Exactly. That's what it is. It's just that cognitive dissonance of, you know, that's the only idea they have in their heads. That's the only assumption they have of you in their head. So when you're not filling out that assumption, they're kind of like, well, what the fuck do you do with yourself? You know, like, all the women I know, like, they're thinking in their heads, all the women I know go down this road. So what are you doing? Like, they kind of wonder, they think you're sitting at home twiddling your thumbs 24/7. That's the image they have of you in their head. And they can't comprehend it because they have jobs and they have, not saying we don't, but they have jobs, they have families, they have like school pickups, they have school runs and family holidays, and their lives are just constantly crazy. And then they think you're the complete polar opposite, and you're just sitting at home doing absolutely nothing, staring at your ceiling with no hobbies or no career. Like, obviously you have jobs, like, you have bills to pay. That's the thing. They think that we're at home staring at paint drying, literally. So I'm also a teacher, but sure, I am quote unquote selfish and apparently can't handle life. This is the thing. They think that they think that we're immature. I get called immature a lot. I think it's because of my youthful energy. People are like, oh my God, you're just so immature. But I always remind them that I have a mortgage and that I pay my bills and that I pay for my own holidays and my own things. So obviously I do have a responsibility to do that. And I've been doing that for the past 6 years. So as in like paying a mortgage. But yeah, up until that moment, I was obviously doing rent. I was like holding down jobs. You know, people seem to forget that we actually go to work to earn a living, so that we have to cook for ourselves as well and eat and do the basics, you know, like take a shower, look after yourself, self-care. You saw on my community tab yesterday, I spoke about self-care. Self-care is a responsibility. And people seem to forget this. They seem to think, obviously, it's a luxury and it's a privilege. And I do understand that. And I totally appreciate that it is a privilege and that I have that privilege. But that's a non-negotiable for me. That's something I'm not willing to give up. I want to put myself first so that I can show up properly for other people. And so that I can give all my energy to other people. But in order to do that, I have to put myself first. I have to make sure I'm okay and that I'm well enough and that I'm happy enough and well rested enough to be able to do those things for other people. Don't ever let someone tell you that you're selfish for like caring for yourself, whether that's a bubble bath, a face mask, eating nutritious foods, taking a nap, going to bed earlier. These are things that we all need to do to take care of ourselves. So I especially loved your last YouTube short where it showed you were living your best life and do what people think. Coming from a traditional family, I was brainwashed into either being an engineer or a doctor. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I really appreciate that you enjoyed the short. I'm glad. But also, I'm from a traditional family who expected that of me as well. So I can totally resonate. This is what I like about being, you know, first generation immigrant, like immigrant daughter, should we say, from immigrant parents, is that they have a lot of pressure on you. And I was just discussing this in my Facebook group for child-free entrepreneurs, is that I was also speaking to another woman who was an immigrant daughter. Like, her parents moved to the USA when I think she was born there actually, but she was born into a traditional Indian family and they expected her to go to medical school. And then obviously when she didn't, you know, she felt like, oh, I'm disappointing my parents. I'm letting them down. You know, they've sacrificed so much. Like, they came to this country with like minimal resources and minimal finances. And you do feel that pressure on your shoulders. And as soon as you're born in an immigrant household and you're like and your parents have moved to like a Western country to like give you a better life, you immediately feel like, oh my God, I need to do well here. I need to make these people proud. And that pressure, eventually you're going to implode. And I know I did. I know I definitely did in like my, mid-20s, I think I did, maybe about a decade ago. Because I was kind of like, oh, well, this pressure's not mine, it's someone else's. And, you know, it can be difficult. And this is why so many people blindly just follow. They blindly just follow the crowd because they don't want to disappoint people. And I do understand that. But they disrespect themselves in the process. They disown themselves. And they're kind of like, it's okay because this person's happy. Yeah, but you're not happy. Or I was told to be deeply religious and be a scholar. However, I tried university and trying to be religious, but realized it's not for me. And I'm happy being child-free as a man in his early 20s. And you know what? In your early 20s as well, that is, you know, you've got so much time ahead of you, and you don't realize, because society and social media always makes you feel like you're running out of time, or that you should be somewhere by some date. You know, that, oh, I'm 25, I should be here earning this, or I'm 30, I should be here and earning this. And it's like, no, like, shut the noise out. There's no such thing as like you should be here, there, or anywhere by XYZ date. Like, that is bullshit. That's just been made up. It's fabricated. It's this kind of fake, invisible pressure that everybody puts on themselves. You don't need to buy into it. It is not for you to buy into. It is a whole load of crap. You do things at your own stage. You do things as and when they come for you. And that's it. That's all your responsibility, is that you take on opportunities as and when. It's not about like, it's okay having goals. That's different. Having goals is totally different. Like, oh, I want to be earning X amount by Y age. That's your own personal goal. As long as it's set out by yourself and not something like your parents expect from you, or like your friends expect from you, or your colleagues, or, you know, you're pushing for a promotion in a career you don't even like because you're like, oh, I need to get this because I need to please such and such person. Like, no, that's different. That's different because you're disrespecting yourself in the process. Like, you're disowning yourself, should we say. Sorry, I'm just catching up because, whoa, I speak too much. I realize I don't, what people think and fall into the trap of what happiness is only achieved through having families, as I believe people have been conditioned to be submissive to parents and believe that 100%. Or they're scared to stand up to their parents because they feel like they owe them something. And this is another thing that I don't get. Like, you don't owe your parents. I don't think anyone owes their parents anything. And this might sound like I'm being a bad influence, but I'm not. But you genuinely don't owe them anything, because you know, if you're if you're kind of going against your own will and your own happiness, I'm sure your parents would rather have a happy child than an unhappy one. Because I know that if I were a parent, I would definitely want a happy child. That's what I always think. So I want my child to be happy and healthy, as opposed to like, oh, I want them to go to the Olympics because I wish I went. Like, no, that's not it. You're always interesting, Jade. I love your child-free channel. You're not selfish, and you can't be selfish to something that does not exist. Exactly. This is what a lot of people say. I can't be selfish to like what? To like my eggs? They're not here. It's not real. Jade, we have so many similarities, especially our astrological natal charts and Turkish backgrounds. I wonder, have you ever heard of astrocartography? Yes, I have. Recently, it's quite a recent thing, like last couple of months. There are places which bring you more peace. Right, I found this out because I don't know where I even found it out. I randomly came across it somewhere. And then I was like, what is this? I was like, oh my God, I'm really intrigued to know, because of some of the places I've lived before, about, you know, astrocartography. For those of you who aren't familiar, it's like very in-depth birth chart. So your birth chart shows you all the planetary placements, like when you were born, like what was where. So you've got your sun sign, your moon, your rising, etc. Astrocartography goes off your place of birth and time of birth, and then shows you like where's the, you know, which places bring you peace and stuff like that, which places are better for you to live, etc. I still don't fully understand it, but I do remember seeing when I looked through the charts, and I went to Peru about 9 years ago now, and I fell in love with that place. And then when I checked my astrocartography, my sunlight, 3 lines were going through Peru, 3. I can't remember which ones they were exactly, but 3 of them were going straight through. And I was like, I knew it. I was like, that's why I felt so connected to that place. And apparently if you're living somewhere with no lines, it doesn't mean anything. It just means the place is neutral. So you just make of it what you will, kind of thing. So don't take you know, don't take it with anything. But also, one of my signs was going through Florida, which was interesting. One of my lines, I mean, was going straight through Florida. And I went for the first time. But Florida's really big. So I was kind of like, oh, but, you know, it's a big state. So I was only on the East Coast. And my line was going through the West Coast. So I need to visit the West Coast to check it out and to check the vibes. So like living on your Sun or Venus or Jupiter line, which will bring you more luck and make you meet more like-minded people. That's actually really interesting because I wasn't sure what they meant. I know that that was my Sun line. Venus or Jupiter line, they'll bring you more luck. So again, I wasn't aware of that because I wasn't 100% sure like what I'm looking for. Like I just saw all these lines and I was like, yeah, but what do they mean? And I was having to do all this research and I was actually having to, I joined this Facebook group, an astrocartography one. And I started looking at other people's charts and I was like looking at all the posts and thinking like, okay, what does this mean? What does this mean? What does that mean? But I wanted it more for career and to see, well, actually for living away as well, because I like living in different places. I like experiencing different cities around the world. And, you know, I do like having that one base, but I like to, you know, in this remote world that we're living in now, where everything is online, everything's digital, like so many careers are hybrid now, or they're completely work from home or remote. It's possible, like we can do this now. And I think that's kind of a good thing that's come out of COVID, if you will, is that you can do that stuff. You have that freedom to kind of move around and to visit different places and to live in different places and to work from different places. Like you can completely be in a different city for like a week and then go somewhere else and do that. If your career allows it, So I've been speaking a lot in my Facebook group. That's why I need a drink. But yeah. So guys, any online entrepreneurs or business owners, whether it's a small business, whether it's a side hustle, whatever it is, after this live, like when I've come off it, I'm going to leave the links in the description box or in the comments. I'll pin it to the top. If you want to join my online entrepreneur group, it's a free Facebook group. Again, it can even if you're just doing something on the side, even if you're doing it like alongside your career, doesn't matter. Feel free to join the group. I would love to have you in there. We just went live and it's so cool. Every single month I go live with an entrepreneur who in a different field. So everyone's bringing their own little things into it. So it's like we're not all in the same niche, but we're all bringing our expertise into that one group and, you know, sharing. Sharing is caring, guys. I've told this to you before. We need our spaces. So this is just for child-free entrepreneurs because, you know, I'm sure you've all seen like the mompreneur groups and, you know, I'm a mum with a side business and all of this. And I get it. That's great that they have their support, but we need our support as well. And we need people to understand us because we still feel that, you know, the difficulties of setting up a business, like the challenges, the, you know, the whole, how much you grow as a person and all the kind of awakenings that you go through. I know I think I went through about 2 or 3 very deep spiritual awakenings since like 2020 when I set up my first online personal training business. I don't personal train anymore. That's another story for another day. But it can be difficult. It can be lonely. It can be frustrating. It can be sad, you know, and we don't want to hear other people being like, well, I have to do all of that with kids. Because that is probably one of the most frustrating and the worst things you can say to like an entrepreneur who's having just as many challenges as you guys, as in like parents. And then on top of that, you have to turn around and be like, yeah, but you guys don't have kids, so we have it harder. And it's like, it's not a competition. Like, it's a competition with yourself. It is not a competition who has the most stress, who has the most kids, who has to do the most cooking, who has to do the most cleaning, who got the least amount of sleep. Like, I don't want it being that thing. Like, we all have our own struggles and we can all talk about them and be validated in a group where you have like-minded individuals and you're not going to have anyone turning around to you and being like, yeah, but I have it harder because I have kids. Because I used to hear that a lot when I first started in the online space and I was told to keep my mouth shut about being child-free and like not bringing it into any stories and, you know, never ever utter it because you might offend or upset anyone. Like, oh, shh, you know, none of this. Like, I felt there was so much of me that I was holding back. And I was like, I don't feel like I can be my true self for my brand, for my business, for my clients, like anything like that. And as soon as I gently started talking about it more, and I obviously did that first video, why I'm a child-free woman in my 30s, then I was like, oh my God, other people actually need this space, you know? And that's what I'm so thankful for you guys for. So thank you so, so much. I'm super grateful for having you in this space. And, you know, I hope it brings you guys joy. I hope it brings you guys, you know, some form of community and some form of like a corner of the internet that you can go to in those times where you're like, I really need this. Like, I really need somewhere to go. I need somewhere to like decompress or to like switch off from work. If you've had a hard day at work, if you've had a tiring day, you guys get tired as well. This is another thing that we're always told. We're told we don't know what tired is. I'm sure you guys know what tired is. I'm certain I don't need to ask you guys, oh, how tiring was your day at work? I know some of you are on your feet for 12 hours a day. I know that some of you guys work in really, 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 you know, mentally taxing environments and mentally taxing niches and areas of work, you know, like care work or nursing or doctors or anything like that. You know, that's hard. That is hard stuff. And you don't need somebody in your ear going, yeah, but mine's harder because I've done this with kids. No, stop. Come here. Okay, so wishing you the best. Thank you so, so much, Liam. Guys, have an amazing rest of your day, wherever you are joining from. If you're kind of where I am, England, Ireland, Europe, you're going to be going into your evening, probably having your evening meal or chilling for the rest of the night. Or if you're anywhere in the USA, Canada, etc., you're probably still enjoying your day. So enjoy the rest of it. I hope your hump day has been amazing. And also, if you're catching this on a replay, let me know. Put a hashtag replay down below as well. And I will, of course, leave the link to my Child-Free Entrepreneur group. I'd love to have you guys in there. So thank you so, so much for joining. I have to really think about this. It's been great, guys. Thank you. See you later. Good night or good day. Bye.